Welcome to Rogue Reader.
Oh, that's my line. Welcome to Rogue Reader. I'm James, and I love reading Star Wars books.
I'm Priscilla, and I love my husband who loves reading Star Wars books.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, did that caught you off guard?
A little. So it has been a while since we did an episode, but basically...
They don't have to know that.
Well, I mean, you would know that based on upload dates and things.
True.
But, I realized that because, I'm doing this for fun, not like as a full-time job or anything. So I don't have a lot of spare time, and the time it takes to like create these episodes, it means that a lot of newer Star Wars books have been hitting the backlog for me. And I decided I just am going to take some time and I'm just going to go through my whole backlog and just catch up before I really focus on this again. So that's what I've been doing. And along the way, for the books that I think would be appropriate, I've been doing kind of like little first reading reviews, where I've been just posting my first impressions after I read it. So that's what I've been working on. But part of that were I did get the novelizations for the original trilogy and for the other two prequel movies, episode 1 and 2. And I thought, well, because I don't have to summarize the whole plot, these are much easier to do. So while I get to these, I can do little episodes on these as well, and that'll be easy. That's what I've been up to.
Well, I do have a question in regards to your books. So is it like kind of reading script of the movie to the novelization? Like it felt like it was just like more quickly to go through a lot of these pages? Because you can actually quote a lot of the movie sometimes.
I mean, it's not like, obviously it's not written like a script, but yeah, these were very quick to go through because I don't think I have to think too hard because I already know what's going on.
Yeah, you don't have to do a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
They're
also like just like under 300 page or 300 or just under pages for each of these, so they're short.
Oh man, that would be a quick read for me. That would be like 2 days because a lot of the books I've been reading, they're at least 360 to 370 and sometimes like 450 pages, and we don't got time for that.
Yeah.
Also, I have to say the most recent line obsession James has is what is it, episode 2 with General Grievous?
Episode 3.
Episode 3, and he's always you do it.
Well, because you're playing Disney Dreamlight Valley, and whenever you talk to
Gaston,
he's always like, "Hello there," and then no matter where I am in our apartment, Priscilla just hear me go, "General Kenobi" from the other room. The other reason that it's good to do these novelizations because these are special versions of the books that came out semi-recently now. It's not recent, but
I see that it's Disney printed.
Yeah, so these are special editions of the novelizations they released. They have really nice covers, but they are not worth the price because they are $18 each, and most paperbacks are like $8.
And the page count.
Yeah, 300 and under, and each one has like a little introduction by George Lucas, but these are just copied over from previous special editions. This isn't even new for this version. So it's not, I will say right now, like these versions are not worth the price unless it's like it just happens to be your favorite like novel of all time. Then it's a pretty collection. But otherwise, you can get like an omnibus of all 3 novels for like $12.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't pay $18 for. My rule at Barnes & Noble is if I'm going to buy anything that's $18 or more, I have to know if the story's worth it or if it's good. This isn't even like a new story you're just buying the movie again.
It's like
essentially.
It's like a special edition, but it's not that special because there's nothing extra about it. It's just new cover art. I like to get into background and things, but I also just want to, as a general introduction, something that always interested me is why read a novelization of a movie? You know what I mean?
You're kidding me. You never liked that?
No, because for me, it's like I have the movie, so I wouldn't care for a book. So
I have to disagree.
So I did, and I have my own reasons. So I did look up like common reasons why people read novelizations. Obviously, for like books like these back in the 70s, before the days of like VHS players and things like that, this was a way for people to just re-experience the movie again when they didn't have it at home. You didn't have ease of access to it. Obviously, that's not really a thing anymore.
Could you imagine like at night reading this to our kids? Like, is it meant for like reading young viewers to young viewers? If like maybe parents just want to, if they instead of reading like Yo Gabba Gabba or Thomas the Little Engine That Could or whatever, be like, hey, can I read you Star Wars Episode 1?
I think little kids probably wouldn't
Is
be
it
as
or
uptight about it. So I'm assuming if they like the movie, they wouldn't mind. So
okay?
yeah, I could see that. Now, I mean, kind of related, novelizations also another reason is if kids did not have access to see the film, or if like maybe they can't afford it, or I don't know, their parents, it's a movie they wouldn't allow them to see. I saw a lot of that online. Kids would read the novelization if it was like a violent or R-rated movie.
Sinners.
And this kind of relates to me because I mentioned it, I think, in my Revenge of the Sith video. I don't know if I did. I'm sure I did. But at the time that movie came out, I had an intense fear of going to movie theaters. So I didn't watch it in theaters. But I wanted to, obviously know. So I did get the Revenge of the Sith novelization just so I could experience the story in my way.
Was the fear of the dark?
I just did not like to be around other people. I was extremely introverted. I was like, I didn't want to be anywhere around other people.
As a kid, yeah, you grew out of it for sure.
I did.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Do we know if it includes like even deleted scenes? Like,
Yeah.
can you tell the difference between which edition that they're following? Or did you not realize?
Most novelizations are based off an early script because they have to make it in time. So usually there are differences in deleted scenes. That's another reason actually why people read it, because they'll get insight into things. Because the novelist is obviously writing it at the script they got, and then maybe when they film it, they make changes later, but they don't have time to change the novel. So that is another actually reason. It's insight into the production of the film. I mean, kind of related, sometimes a book can just expand certain plot details that maybe weren't fully realized in the movie. So those are just reasons why people can read a novelization. But yeah, when I read Revenge of the Sith novelization, I loved it so much that I realized like I would want to reread it in the future. And then I thought, because, obviously you have Legends universe pre-Disney and you have the Disney canon. And I realized that for me, Legends is really the books. So I thought maybe I can treat Legends as just a book universe. And if I ever want to just go through Legends, I wouldn't actually include the films. I would just do the novelizations just for fun. Pre-Disney, I'm going to treat that universe as a book universe, I think. But that's all going to be contingent on how good these actually are, too. So let's just get into it, starting with the first one, Episode 4, A New Hope, which wasn't published under that title. Obviously, when it first released, it was just called Star Wars. But when they did the book, it was called Star Wars From the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. That's how it was titled originally.
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
Actually, I might as well show you the cover. The cover used Ralph McQuarrie concept art. So this is what the original print looked like.
He looks like a beetle. This is what AI would make.
If you want a cleaner picture.
Oh, there's a clean one
of the concept art.
Wow. They don't make. Well, maybe they do make stuff like this still. A lot of my romance ones have like cartoon flat images. So this looks very 3D.
There's something special about this.
Is there?
This book, the novelization of Star Wars came out before the movie. This was people's first look at what this might be.
Oh, I got chills. And I don't like Chewie.
It's early concept art. Up. So this is how people envisioned it, I guess, before.
Oh, that's right. They would have access to that too, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Compared to just this.
Yeah,
which
like
is like
already
a fancy poster. But I think it looks nice.
Already visualize of who's who. And like you see Mark Hamill, you see Carrie Fisher, you see just C-3PO in there too. It's amazing. Even I just realized this when they're going to
hyperspace.
Like just the little things. I love art like this.
It's pretty.
It gives me Frida Kahlo vibes for me.
So like I mentioned, this was published in December of 1976. Star Wars came out in May of 1977. So this came out about 6 months before.
That's risky because if you're introducing a film with a book first, I don't recall a time of that ever happening other than, well, actually no. We're in a time where like famous series, once they get famous, they get a book like
But this is different
the Hunger Games and stuff like that.
because those were books first. This was always
Yeah.
meant to be a film, and the back of the book did say soon to be a feature film. So it's not like it was people thought it was a novel first, and then it was known that this was a novelization of a film that was upcoming.
Gotcha. That's actually cool and interesting.
It's credited to George Lucas as the writer, but it was actually ghostwritten by Alan Dean Foster. So he actually did it, but George Lucas was given the credit on the book.
Is he credited though, the ghostwriter?
So when people would ask Alan Dean Foster, did you actually write this? And he would say no, because it's credited to George Lucas. But eventually a biography came out. I guess it was called Skywalking, The Life and Times of George Lucas. And that included that Alan Dean Foster ghostwrote it. And once that was out of the bag there, then he was able to start saying, yeah, it was me. But he said that some of his fans actually figured it out beforehand due to similarities in the writing. So he had some fans that kind of understood that, oh, that was probably him.
Oh, that's really cool. People recognize his writing. It's hard to tell sometimes for me.
And I talked about this when I did Splinter of the Mind's Eye, because Foster did that too. But he's a sci-fi writer. He's done many novelizations, including Alien, Star Trek, Transformers, Terminator. So he's got a pedigree when it comes to writing novelizations.
Oh, I would read Transformers.
He basically just got a call from Lucas's lawyer asking if he wanted the job. I guess they were familiar that he did stuff like that, and he was familiar with George Lucas's film, so he went and he signed the contract for this one and for the second book, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which I talk about more in that video. He had not seen the film. He only had a script, which I think it was the 4th draft, and he just had some concept art and a few test shots to go off of, and that was it. So imagine never seeing Star Wars and you have to write the book.
Like, just out of your imagination.
Like, it's not even in pop culture yet.
Really quick question. Something's not connecting to me. You said he loves Star Wars, but yet this is the first.
He liked George Lucas's work, his other work. He was familiar
Before
with George
that.
Lucas's
Gotcha.
other movies. Yeah. Non-Star Wars movies. He has written 2 other Star Wars books since. So years later, he did The Approaching Storm, which was an episode 2 tie-in. And then Disney brought him back to write the novelization for The Force Awakens. So that was kind of a nice little tribute to him. Obviously, George Lucas didn't expect this movie to be a big hit, but after the movie, everything kicked off and it was so popular, he actually rewrote Alan Dean Foster's contract to give him more royalties because he felt he did such a good job on the book. So that's kind of nice.
Aw, that makes my heart happy.
Now, one of the things I wanted to do was find some reviews of this book, because that would be the first reviews of Star Wars, technically. And that's very hard to do.
Well, think about it.
From the
Internet
70s.
wasn't...
Yeah, you'd have to find magazines and things.
And also, too, like, I can't imagine the perspective of people who are reviewing now in our day and age who have probably already watched it like 200 times already.
Yeah, and that's the reviews I tend to find are obviously like from people nowadays. And I wanted to find old ones, but that was a lot of work. I know I sound lazy there, but I did find one in an Esquire article. They found, and they actually linked to the old magazine database. And you could find one
Yes.
from S.W. Schumacher. And this was in 1976. And he basically said that this novel was a huge cliche and a poorly written cliche at that.
Oh, they were wrong.
No, he's talking about the novel. It is a cliche. Star Wars is a cliche. It's all the other movies George Lucas liked combined into one. It's rescuing a princess, a knight. It's a war film. But this guy, he's mainly complaining about the prose, like how it's actually written, and that how the book doesn't really describe the world much. And I thought it was interesting. He even mentions that there's rumors that this was ghost written, which is interesting that even when this book was released, there were already rumors that George Lucas didn't write it. And then he's
They
like,
heard around the grapevine.
He said if that's the case, George should have picked a better author to write it. So he's really slamming the guy.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Now it is known the film is coming out, and there's even like some stills in the article, and it's saying that this film, it may be groundbreaking, but until we actually see it, there's no way to know. Mm-hmm. So there was already a sense that this could be a big deal at the time. And like any Star Wars fan does, he nitpicks things. Like, how is it that Luke and Han are able to freely just run around this big military installation, Death Star, without getting caught so often? And those are the type of things you would see like modern fans nitpick about movies. So that was always the case even before it was a movie, which is funny.
I'm sorry to tell you guys this, but none of this is real.
But that's it for the background. So obviously, because this is already a film, I'm not going to go over the plot. I'm just going to go over some of the things that are different or some of the things that stood out to me when I was reading this. First thing I want to start off with is the original opening and its implications. Now, this is really fascinating. So the film isn't even a thing yet. And this is the opening prologue. So I just want to read it. Another galaxy, another time. The old republic was the republic of legend, greater than distance or time. No need to note where it was or whence it came, only know that it was the republic. Once under the wise rule of the Senate and protection of the Jedi Knights, the republic throve and grew, but as often happens when wealth and power pass beyond the admirable and attain the awesome, then appear those evil ones who have greed to match. So it was with the republic at its height. Like the greatest of trees, able to withstand any external attack, the republic rotted from within, though the danger was not visible from outside. He goes on to talk about how the republic, through commerce and like through the ambitions of Senator Palpatine, caused himself to be elected president of the republic. And he promised to reunite and restore the glory of it. And once in office, he declared himself emperor.
That is very poetic. A strong tree that rotted from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what it was. Because they had a strong foundation, they had support, but they relied all that support on someone who they didn't question and kind of started the whole mess.
It's even more than that. Think about this. This was 1976. The prequels weren't even a thought yet. And this is basically, in the first pages, the outline of the prequels.
You're right.
So back then, George knew, even back then, what this backstory was. And this is the only source for years to mention that the Emperor's name was Palpatine.
Oh.
So even all the way back in the first draft, he knew that the head guy in charge, who we don't even see till the third movie, that might not have even have happened, because if this movie was successful, he had all these details.
Because that's the case with a lot of these movies, right? Like James Cameron, he worked on his film Avatar for like a decade on just the first one. And I can't imagine what he cooked up in that brain of his to make the series or trilogy that it's going to be now. And I'm pretty sure he had to like find a very good juicy budget to cover it. And Disney, thank you, Disney.
He also talks about how he exterminated the Jedi Knights through treachery. It's mentioned that Palpatine actually isn't in charge. Soon he was controlled by the very assistants and bootlickers he had appointed to high office, and the cries of the people for justice did not reach his ears. So there's a suggestion that others in his court are the real power and not him. So that's...
Which I don't think took really exactly as accurate, right? Because
Oh yeah, no, it's not accurate at all. It's just an early version of how he imagined things were. So that's interesting. C-3PO is described in this book as being bronze, not gold. That's probably an early script change. The writing of this book, it does come off as a little strange and hard to describe. It's very descriptive, yet not descriptive either. So like he'll use words like this was very alien, very monstrous, but like he won't necessarily always describe what it looks like. And obviously he probably didn't always know because he just had the script.
You also don't want to like overstep creative boundaries if you're like making all these claims about what something looks like and all of a sudden they change in a movie. Mm-hmm. You don't want to do that. I can say that for sure.
It comes off as kind of corny and kind of pulpy when it comes to like reading it. But yeah, like I said, this is the first time this world had to be described. So he is the first person to try to describe this world for the public. Something else that I thought was interesting is that stands out as strange is there's a lot of Earth terms. And so I watched when the Revenge of the Sith special version came out, Star Wars Explained did an interview with the author and like the editor, I think. And he talked about, and I never realized this before, but now I do. And now I can't help but look for it everywhere. He said there's a list of words he has that you can't use in a Star Wars novel because they're Earth terms and Earth doesn't exist here. So as an example, you talked about this, I think, when we did the Princess and the Scoundrel. Remember how I talked about there were ground quakes? And you were like, ground quake, what's that? You can't use earthquake because there's no Earth.
Oh.
And now I'm really noticing that whenever I'm looking for things like that in Star Wars books. And this has a lot of that. And that kind of, I think, as someone who's used to reading a lot of Star Wars books, I think that contributes to the strange feeling of it. Because he uses words like, he doesn't say droids a lot. He'll say robots. He'll say their handgun instead of a blaster. He describes a hologram as a portrait. So a portrait of Princess Leia comes out, not a hologram.
Probably because it wasn't conceptualized.
Yeah, so that's a mix of things like that, but also it leads to the weird feeling when reading the book. So in the opening, on the Tantive 4, when the stormtroopers come through, I thought it's interesting. They come through the roof and not the front door. So that iconic scene where they're waiting in the hallway and they're pointing and they burst through. In this, they drop through the ceiling. They cut through the ceiling instead. I talked about this in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Darth Vader is called Dark Lord of the Sith, and I was curious if that term was in the original book, and it is. So he is called the Dark Lord of the Sith.
So it's a universal Star Wars phrase that caught on.
It started from the very beginning. I just found it interesting because it's never said in the film. He's never called a Sith in the film. It wasn't until the prequel trilogy that became a thing. But that shows that he had invented this word for it all these years back, even though he didn't use it in the film. I think the scene where R2-D2 is going on about his mission and he has to leave and C-3PO is kind of has to follow him. It said that C-3PO curses in several languages. So you know how he knows all these languages? I guess he when he's frustrated with R2-D2, he just starts cursing in these different languages, which is kind of funny to think.
Oh my. That's the only phrase I know of him saying. So cursing is not something I'm not familiar with coming out of C-3PO.
We do have a deleted scene where Luke, and you can, a lot of these deleted scenes you can find online and stuff, but there's a scene where Luke is looking through his, binoculars, and he's actually watching the space battle above. And he sees it. And he immediately, takes his speeder and he goes to the city of Anchorhead to basically tell his friends what he saw. He's like, you won't believe what's going on up there. And I thought it was funny, while he's speeding over there, he almost runs over an old lady crossing the street, and he doesn't even notice that he almost hit her. He's just so, focused. And yeah, these are also deleted scenes, so he actually, I don't know if you remember, when he joins the rebellion, he finds a friend there, Biggs, and he's like, Luke, you're here, and they're all excited to see each other. I don't know if you remember that. Mm-mm. Well, originally Biggs was in this deleted scene. So Luke goes to tell him, and
to be clear, it's a deleted scene. That's why I probably don't recall.
Well, he's later in
a lot of scenes.
Yeah, well, he is later in the film. Like I said, Luke runs into him before the Death Star fight. He's with the rebels, but there was a scene where he ran into him earlier in the film, and Biggs basically tells him how he's going to leave and he's going to join the fight against the Empire. And then so there was kind of this through line where he then runs into him later when Luke joins. But that was all cut, but it's here in the book. So if you want to see all of those original scenes, how they played out, you can read it in here. And the scenes are you can see them on YouTube too. They are kind of rough though.
Can I ask?
Uh-huh.
Do you recall the runtimes of the first movie?
I think it's about 2 hours.
Okay, so do you feel that this fits within that 2 hours plus and it's still a good read? All the scenes make sense?
Oh, they make sense, yeah.
More sense.
I think they were cut from the film for just pacing issues. But I mean, it's fine to read it. And it does make sense to know that Luke and Biggs were friends first and see that before they then reunite later. The scene where Darth Vader meets Leia and he's like, you're part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. And he's like, take her away. In the book, she then spits at him after he says that. And it's described that the spit sizzles against his hot armor. I don't know what that's about.
Acid, acidic, toxic.
In the film, Vader does say to announce that all aboard were killed, all aboard the ship. But in the book, he specifically says, tell her father that all aboard were killed. And I never thought about this before, but it's possible that when Bail Organa died on Alderaan, he died thinking that his daughter was already dead, not realizing she was alive. That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
The famous scene in the conference room where Darth Vader is like, the power to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force. When he says that in here, he actually, and this was the author's edition, he uses the Force to pull a cup of like water or something to him. So he's like, it's insignificant next to the Force, and then he pulls a cup
He's
to himself.
thirsty.
Well, my thought was, can he drink out of a cup?
Imagine where it's like, it just, like, the Force is strong with me.
And it's just dripping all down his...
through the grill, and then
Yeah.
you just hear...
So I was wondering that. I was like, what's he going to do with that cup? I found an interview with the author where someone asked him that about that scene. And the author said, well, you know, at that time, it wasn't known if Vader could remove his mask or how much he needed it to keep alive. It's possible that he wasn't like injured, that he just choose to wear that and could take it off and take a drink. He's like, that wasn't known at that time.
Yeah, or that he was going to look like a ball sack.
Yeah. It's just funny now to read Darth Vader trying to pick up something to drink.
Yeah.
The author really does not seem to like Jawas. So he describes Jawas as... Do you remember what the Jawas were? Do you really? You know, the little hooded guys with the glowing eyes?
Okay, yeah. I get them confused with, I know this is bad. When I hear Jawa, the first thing I think of are Ewoks, and I don't know if
They use some of the same sound effects for both.
that's where, but it takes me some time for my brain, because, you know, I didn't, you know, grow up like you did.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Jawas, yes.
Oh man, the author really does not seem to like them because C-3PO says they're disgusting creatures at one point, and so does the author. They're disgusting creatures.
Aren't they?
But he also calls them vermin. He says they have no hygiene. They have flies in their face. They're subhuman. They're de-evolved. These are all words he uses to describe the Jawas.
You just described our guinea pig.
Well, she's a guinea pig. She's not like an intelligent creature.
Take that back.
She's not. So you know the scene where Uncle Owen buys C-3PO and R2-D2? And they buy a different droid than R2, but then it like explodes. And so they have to like buy R2-D2. Well, Uncle Owen is like trying to tread carefully with the Jawas here and not blink. And I guess not like, he doesn't want to push them too far that they may have like tried to jip him, because he thinks to himself that if the Jawas get really angry, they could flatten his house with their sandcrawler. So,
oh, I can see that.
When it's time for the harvest on Tatooine, on their little moisture farm or whatever, I guess it's said that the whole field will be covered in green plants, which I don't think would happen now on Tatooine.
Lucky enough to even have plants.
Here, it's going to be, I guess it'll be all green. When R2-D2 escapes to like go find Obi-Wan, and Luke and C-3PO are looking for him, C-3PO offers to take the blame for Luke on R2 escaping. And
Pourquoi?
And then
usually a snitch.
Luke is like, well, the worst that Uncle Owen might do to you, he might get your memory flushed or like deactivate you. And then when C-3PO hears that, he shifts the blame back to Luke, being like, well, you know, it was you that that took off the restraining bolt.
Such a jokester.
Do you remember when the Sand People attack Luke?
Yes.
Well, it seems to be implied in the movie that they knock him out. But in here, it's explained that that Luke actually faints when he sees them.
Because they're so gross?
I don't know. He's not, I guess he's just like surprised or scared, but it's not really.
Sounds like he has a serious heart condition that needs to get checked out.
It's not very heroic for the hero to be fainting at danger.
Up for interpretation of what happened.
So let me read Obi-Wan's description, or the description of Obi-Wan's call. Do you remember when Obi-Wan scares the Sand People away by giving out this like monster call?
Yeah.
The booming howl came closer. Judging by the way the Sand People had reacted, something monstrous beyond imagining had to be beyond that rolling cry. Something monstrous and murder bent, which might not have the sense to distinguish between edible organics and inedible machines. So that sounds pretty monstrous, right?
Yes.
Let me play for you Obi-Wan's updated call from the films when they
updated as to at this point in the year 2026.
They've updated Anakin, or they've updated Obi-Wan's call throughout the various editions. Does that sound fitting of that description?
It sounds like whoever was doing the audio, they're just like, let me put like 20 different noises in this like 10-second clip and see how it sounds. How does he make those sounds then? I forget.
He's able to just, there's different versions. I don't know if it's in canon, but previously he could use the force to like make sounds.
Like in their brains?
No, he's actually making the sound.
By manipulating the force, who can hear?
No, I think just by using the force to manipulate his voice.
Oh, okay.
But it's just funny because it's very, I hate that call. It's very fun. It does not sound good. And
no.
It sounds, someone once made a joke that it sounds like Michael Jackson, like, woo! Like,
at one point.
Obi-Wan in this lives in a cave, not a he has like a little home hut house thing, but in here he just lives in a cave.
You know what? In my memory, it's as if I could have sworn he did live in a cave.
We saw him live in a cave in Obi-Wan, the show.
That's what's messing me up.
Yeah, before he got his home.
So they were more accurate, I guess.
Well, I think it's in a way, yeah. But it's like before he got his own house.
He made his money.
The scene where the hologram of Leia shows up and, you know, the iconic, like, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope.
Star Wars.
It's still there, but that's not the end of the message. Leia actually, I think, she actually says in the message, like, do not fail us, Obi-Wan. Do not fail me. And says that she will be captured and tortured. So, like, she makes it much more personal about her instead of saving everything, which sounds a little self-absorbed.
It's out of character.
Yeah, you're right. It's out of character. While Obi-Wan's listening to this message and thinking what to do, he's puffing a water pipe. So it's kind of funny to think Obi-Wan's smoking. Even though it's just water, I guess. But
yeah, it's just water vapors.
Here's an example of weird Earth terms. At one point, Obi-Wan tells Luke, like, even ducks need to learn how to swim. And Luke says, what's a duck? And Obi-Wan then just goes, never mind.
Never mind.
So, like, you probably wouldn't use a duck now, but to be fair, one of my favorite obscure Wikipedia articles is duck. Because you see ducks on Naboo in episode 1, and they have a Wikipedia article.
They made sure to be like, yes, those are ducks. Yes, they exist in Star Wars too. No, you're not going to find anything else that you recognize than ducks.
But it's also like, just like what, it just also comes across as weird, just to think of Luke being like, what's a duck? But
how old is he again?
He's like 19 or 20.
Ooh, he needs to go to school.
Someone asked the author about this in an interview, and the author said he doesn't remember that, but he probably put that in there just as to make a point that Luke doesn't know what water is because he lives on a desert.
He doesn't know anything.
But even the author says that wouldn't be kept in now because ducks are an Earth thing. Obi-Wan tells Luke that lightsabers are still used in some quadrants. So there's an idea that maybe lightsabers originally were not exclusively for Jedi. Well,
like actually, a weapon.
I know that's the point, because you can find old concept art of stormtroopers carrying lightsabers. So it definitely wasn't always a thing. But it's funny to think that there could be some people out there that just regular people that use lightsabers. When Luke is in the cantina and gets, attacked by the I don't like you either guy, there's two of them in the movie, but in here there's actually they have a third friend who's described as like a baboon capybara-like creature. So the famous Han Solo where he's like, I made the Kessel Run in like 12 parsecs, and of course a parsec is a measure of like distance and not like time. Here he does say 12 time parts. So I wonder if the script said time parts and that was like a placeholder, and then they just used the wrong term later, because that's actually more correct than what they went with in the film. So like if you've only ever seen like Star Wars on Disney Plus, Jabba is in the original movie, but that was a deleted scene in the original. When the movie first came out, that whole scene where Han talks to Jabba is cut out, and it wasn't until special editions later that they restored it. But Jabba it wasn't sure what he looked like, and in the filming, he's just a human. Which I showed you at the Funko Pop store. They have a human Funko Jabba.
And I was like, when was he human? And you had to explain that whole lore to me.
Well, here he's described as a great mobile tub of muscle and suet, which I guess is hard fat with a shaggy skull.
So he's fat fit.
Well, he sounds closer to what he ended up being, than what they filmed. So that's interesting. So I wonder if George took any inspiration from that. Other than the shaggy head, he's described as this big, like, fat creature.
Instead of making him like human, he just made him a blob.
Yeah, well, it's not even clear. I don't know. Well, I guess he's not human because he has a shaggy skull, but I don't know. Here's a weird bit of writing. When they're escaping Tatooine and Luke straps in the Millennium Falcon, oddly, he was thinking of a dog he once owned. And that's it.
That's an Earth thing, though, isn't it?
It doesn't even matter if it's an Earth thing. Why is that in there?
About his dog?
Yeah. Why, when he's escaping the ships and he's strapping in, did the author feel the need to put in that Luke was thinking of a dog he once owned, and that it was odd he was thinking of a dog he once owned? What does that mean?
I think he confused it with Lassie.
What does that mean?
The ghostwriter. He thought he was writing for Lassie. He's like, oh, wait, this is Star Wars.
Oh.
No, I have no idea, because you mentioned that phrases or organic beings that are more earthbound shouldn't be mentioned. And yeah, they use the phrase ducks, and the author probably forgot. And very closely, it sounds like he also used dog.
It's not even the use of the word dog, which is weird. It's just a very strange thing to write in that moment. A big, intense escape scene, and then...
Maybe he was just trying to remember a simpler life before all of this strangeness has happened, or all of a sudden. Like, the way how I interpret it, for me, when you said that, when he's escaping, he's thinking of his dog, and, like, I'm assuming when he was, like, a kid? Or does it specify?
It doesn't specify. And that's literally it, yeah.
That's just my thoughts. Like, sometimes you just think the good times and while you're going through the bad times, and that just makes you feel better.
We don't actually see Alderaan get destroyed, and Leia doesn't even... We don't get a scene of her seeing it destroyed. She's escorted off screen to like an unobscured viewing area when they're going to destroy it, and then we actually don't see that scene at all. So they just kind of come into the wreckage later. So I think it is... I don't know if that was original script, how they were going to do it in the script, but I do think it's better that you had that moment in the film where they show it happen, like in front of her.
Yeah, and her face, that's more impactful. I don't know how impactful it is, like, reading it, but it shows.
There's that scene in the movie where Han says, you know, I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but nothing to make me believe there's this, like, force that controls my destiny. And in here...
Who says that? Hans?
Han says that, yeah.
Okay.
Did you say Hans?
Hans. It's like Han S, but I just... Hans.
Here in the novel, Han says that I can't say that there couldn't be a force because I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but nothing controls my destiny. So he's like...
He's agnostic.
He's a little more open to the strangeness than the line comes across in the movie.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe that the force... I know they portray it like it's fact, like the force exists. But like with a person like him, do you think he's just like someone... Like, in our world, we would define as a agnostic. Like, say, if religion was, like, solid, and you can, like, believe in it, and it actually happens, but then you can be on the other side where, like, oh, I haven't seen it, but...
Well, I think in the film, he doesn't believe in the Force. Here, I think it's more just he doesn't care. He just wants to be known that he's solo. He does his own thing and nothing controls him.
He's writing solo?
He's writing solo. So I don't know. The famous line, like, I have a bad feeling about this. It's in the book later, but the first time it's used, they don't say that. They say, I have a strange feeling about this.
It works the same way.
Yeah, it's just different. So when the scene where Luke is trying to convince Han to go rescue Leia, the scene normally plays out where Han's like, I'm not risking myself for her. And then Luke's like, she's rich. And like, tries to convince him that he'll get a lot of money. So here, when Luke says she's rich, I like that Han says, who's going to pay? Because her planet just got destroyed. Which is true. Where's all her money? Where's all her money?
He's like, we can't make money out of this. Why should I? her family's dead. Her currency's dead.
But then Luke counters being like, well, that means that she might be the sole heir of all of Alderaan's fortune.
What fortune? Where is it? It burned up?
There's a scene where R2D2 tries to plug into like a computer terminal, and it turns out to be a power outlet by accident, so he like shocks himself. And when I read that, I was like, that's in Empire Strikes Back. So that wasn't in the original. So they obviously cut that scene, but then it's interesting they decided to reuse it in the next film.
I think it's funny.
I think it's funny, yeah, and it's also just kind of cool that there's a little scene in here from the next movie. There's no indication that Obi-Wan, in his fight with Darth Vader, that he sacrifices himself. Vader just seems to cut him down. Like, there's no indication that he intentionally, nobly sacrifices himself.
Like where he stares at Luke's eyes and he's just like, go.
Yeah.
And like he gets...
Vader just seems to just kill him.
I think either way, it's still heroic. He like fought against... To be clear, is it defined that Darth Vader was once his pupil?
Yes.
Okay. See, like, it's still... I don't see it that way.
Well,
I see it's still like he went with him. He, dedicated his whole life to Luke. And now he's like... His life, unfortunately, did end at the hands of someone he once loved and cared about.
But in the film, it's clear that he does it on purpose. So that way he can then guide Luke spiritually, because he knows he's not going to make it out. Where here... There's none of that. Vader just cuts him down. And I think that's a symbol of the author's writing, which I think he is not very clear at times. Like in Splinter of the Mind's Eye, where Luke's fighting Vader, and Vader just falls in a pit, and there's no explanation why. He just all of a sudden falls.
Well, can I ask this too? Do they define once crossing over to the other side, you're just one with the Force? Is that still an idea that was... brought up earlier.
Luke still hears Obi-Wan's voice
afterwards.
Yeah,
in the same book.
Yes, it's just not clear that Obi-Wan does it on purpose. It just seems more like he loses.
I don't know.
So it's not as heroic, I think, as the film.
I don't know. I have to disagree with you.
I don't think I'm explaining it properly. You'd have to read it.
I just don't find one heroic less or more heroic. It's just it's still.
Well, I think you're.
Added more.
You're putting the heroic into it. I don't think it was there in the subtext.
Don't tell me what I can't think.
Well, I think I can, because I think if you read it, you would understand. Like if I were to describe the movie, I'd be like, Obi-Wan is facing Vader. He looks at Luke. He smiles.
That's as someone who read or who watched it.
Yeah, imagine if I'm just
he probably didn't even have it.
Imagine if I'm describing it. He smiles. He willfully holds up his saber and does not make any attempt to attack. And Darth Vader swings, and he like disappears. The way it's described here is more like Obi-Wan and Luke are Obi-Wan and Vader are fighting, and then Vader stabs him, and that's it.
May I ask though? Whose perspective are we watching, or is it like third person?
The perspectives are all over the place. So I can't even tell you.
Ooh.
I'll get to that in a little bit. Let's just say that reviewer I don't think he was wrong when he said that he didn't find the writing to be very good. Luke isn't a part of Red Squadron. In this book, he's Blue Squadron. I don't know, like Red 5 has become iconic now, but I guess they changed it later. And originally he was Blue Squadron. It's not a big deal. It's just a little difference.
It's like, he went to Walmart, but he really ended up being with Target.
The leader, there's a deleted scene you can see, and it's in here where when he's asking Luke, like, are you sure you can fly this thing, like this X-Wing? And then Biggs is there, and he's like, Luke's like the best pilot. And then in this deleted scene and in here in the novel, the leader, he's like, I knew your father, kid. You'll be okay. And it's like, that has some interesting implications. Because does he mean he knew before it was thought his father was Darth Vader and he knew like just Luke in general? But then you could ask like, well, what does it mean if it is Darth Vader he knew before when he was Anakin? But it just brings up a lot of questions, so it's probably good that they changed that.
Yeah, my brain's already hurting thinking like what that story could have been.
But
still is.
That's it for just the things that stand out to me about it. So just, I guess, my thoughts on it. So the writing does feel strange. Like I said, it's hard. It feels weird because of the Earth terms. It feels weird because it's not described how Star Wars usually is, but that's because this is also the first time someone had to describe Star Wars. So that's going to lend to all of that. I briefly talked about, but yeah, sometimes the perspectives will switch. Like sometimes it seems within sentences of each other.
Ooh, I hate that.
It can be all over the
That's
place.
that's a sign of a like a kind of a green author. If you have an author, and like sometimes when I'm reading, it's supposed to be one perspective, and sometimes they'll like mess up, but like this, that would kill me in such a short read
Yeah.
because you can tell every time it happens. That's unfortunate.
Now, I can't, when it comes to like the descriptions being off, he hadn't seen the film. So the way it's described, if this was your first exposure to Star Wars, let's say you just didn't know about the movies and things, and that would be hard to do nowadays. I'm not sure how well you would have been able to follow these descriptions.
Well, no, because yeah, I think pacing does matter. Something has to like grab you within a certain amount of pages. Like your rule, 100 pages. That's you basically. How many pages again? Sorry.
This one, 235 pages.
So your rule, 100 pages. You're literally read half of it, so you might as well finish it, right?
Well, yeah, and to be clear, my rule is if a book doesn't grab me in the first 100 pages, I stop reading. If it's a non
Can I
Star
ask
Wars
you?
book.
Oh, non. So if it's Star Wars, it's hard to be biased.
If it's a Star Wars adult novel, I will read all of it, even if I don't care for it.
So like, would you say your standards, like, would this fit in your 100 page that you can recall, or you can't say because you?
I can't say because I know the movie too well.
Yeah. So really quickly though, just to quickly answer your question or like kind of discuss. I don't mind at times if they have to change a story from novelization to, or I shouldn't say novelizations, from book to screen. And you can't think of this as the Star Wars book. It's another thing, right? Because it's not going to be the same story. It's not going to be the same characters, especially if they're still fleshing it out. Like in other movies now, they make sure to copy as much as they can from the books to make a movie. Here, they already knew portions of the movie. They said, "Here, let's do this, make the novelization," and then they made updates afterwards.
Well, it's also that if you hadn't seen Star Wars, I don't know if you would know what everything looks like just by reading this. He doesn't describe what things look like well.
Or should look like.
Whereas now it's in the culture, like everyone.
It's world building. Like it's
know.
not his world though.
No.
That is hard. Like I have to give a lot of credit though still, because it's hard to be like told, "Hey, write this book." Okay, what's going on? And they're like, "We don't know beyond what information we have given you." It's in the task. Taskmaster reference. But it's I just personally don't mind the little things. Like I said, the only issue that you did bring up, the perspective changes. Everything else though, it seems, do you feel that think of it as a Rotten Tomatoes score to from book to the accuracy of the movie, what would you rate it as? Like 100% being like most accurate to 1% just completely different.
Accuracy? It's accurate to the movie.
Give me a percentage.
I don't know a percentage. It's like, because I don't think of it that way, is how accurate it is to the movie. It's more like little things are different. And there's a lot of scenes in there that are cut out. And this was in that, I think, Esquire article I was reading. When you read this, and this is a little true for all of them, of the original, there's a tension when you're reading it. Because you're waiting to see what's going to be different.
Intention, you said?
Attention.
Attention, okay.
Like that, like suspense, because you're waiting to see which thing is going to be different or the same. There's kind of that experience when you're reading it, which I definitely had, because I was waiting to see what was going to be different. That was kind of my thoughts when reading it. I do, like I said, there are a lot of things that seem to just happen. Things move very quickly. There's not a lot of introspection. It's really just the scene happens and it moves on to the next one.
Introspection.
Yeah.
That's a big word for homo.
But you know what I mean? Like in novels, you have you have whole scenes of characters thinking about things.
Yeah.
They don't really have that. They don't have that here. It's more just like things happen and we move on to the next thing. I mean, it's 235 pages, so.
With how small the book is, I'm not expecting it to be in depth, their philosophical reasoning of why they're drinking water.
But I would expect something like that from a novel. It's just not very modern, and I can't.
Do you think they should have beefed it up before making these reprints? Because I know they have, right?
There are other stories that do things like that. I just think this was script to page. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only thing. And why would they?
Unique.
Why would he beef it up? No one thought this was going to be famous. This was just some little sci-fi.
More of like just asking now with the information we know, like if they should have considered it, but. If you want to retain the history, which is basically a time capsule of what it could have been.
It is. That is true.
Yeah, I think that lends more into the popularity, right? It's a time capsule and you have a piece of history right here. Before Star Wars was Star Wars.
And that actually is one of my recommendations on here. Like, I think people would like this book if they like the history of the film itself. And you want, like, yeah, exactly what you're saying, a little time capsule of what it could have been or what it was at early stages.
So you're saying the $18 price isn't worth it?
No.
For a paperback?
Not $18. I didn't mention, but the whole Death Star run, which is probably one of, like, my favorite moments in any Star Wars film, it's very well done here, and it was just as gripping to read it as it was watching it. I think that was the best part of the book, the whole Death Star run. Other than that, I kind of like, why would you, if you read a novelization, does it fit a lot of those things we talked about before? Does this work as an alternative to the movie if you don't have access somehow to not see it? Maybe you don't have like Disney Plus to stream or something? I don't think so, because I don't think you will get maybe, but I think you'll have a hard time getting a sense of things based on the descriptions without having seen the movie. Is this a good way to, relive the story in your own way, stay in the world? Like, maybe, but I still think it's kind of a little off-putting to read, so maybe not as much. Is this a good way to see what characters are thinking? No, not really, because the author doesn't go into that.
He
just moves on really quickly. It doesn't really provide context on extra plot points. It expands the story a little bit through deleted scenes. Now, maybe do you like to read novels to see differences in scripts? Then absolutely, this would be for you, because they have all those deleted scenes and alternate little lines and things. Like you were saying, it's just I recommend it for people who are interested in the film itself, the history of the film. Maybe not to read for a good time, but just to know the film. I think if you're someone like me that loves Star Wars books and reads a bunch of Star Wars books, then I would also recommend it just to see how far Star Wars books have come from the very first book. And to see those differences in like Earth terms and the weird writing.
Or go to the library and see if they have it. Or Libby app.
Oh yeah,
just
check it out. At the end of the day, if you want a great alternative to the movie, the radio special is way better, which has Mark Hamill voicing himself. They did a whole radio drama of the original trilogy, and Mark Hamill plays Luke in the episode 4 version. It has all the deleted scenes. It's really engaging to listen to it and all the sounds, and I think that's a better way to experience it than in book form, but that's just me. But do you have any final thoughts?
I'm thirsty.
Okay. Well, that's it for today's episode of Rogue Reader.
Can you like force grab me water?
Should I just like... I'll just zoom in on me. Here, can you just slowly drag the water across? I'll get you some water. Oh no, I have a mask. I can't drink it.
Oh, here, I'll drink it though.
May the force be with you. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Rogue Reader podcast. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, subscribe for more content, and share to any other Star Wars fans you think might also enjoy this content. Thank you very much.